up, guys? Welcome to my channel. Hope you're having an amazing day, and thanks for coming and watching this video. Today we're going to be doing a study on Exodus 14. So grab a notebook, grab a Bible if you want to. You don't have to. So Exodus 14 is a little bit of a longer read, but we're going to read the whole thing just to kind of get a point of view of what's going on here. Starting in verse 1, and we're going to go through verse 31. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, that they turn and encamp before Pihahiroth, between Migdol and the sea, over against Baal-zephon, before it shall ye encamp by the sea. For Pharaoh will say of the children of Israel, They are entangled in the land, the wilderness hath shut them in. And I will harden Pharaoh's heart, that he shall follow after them, and will be honored upon Pharaoh, and upon all his host, that the Egyptians may know that I am the Lord. And they did so. And it was told the king of Egypt that the people fled, and the heart of Pharaoh and his servants were turned against the people, and they said, Why have we done this, that we have let Israel go from serving us? And he made ready his chariot, and took his people with him, and he took 600 chosen chariots, and all the chariots of Egypt, and captains over every one of them. And the Lord hardened the heart of Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and he pursued after the children of Israel. And the children of Israel went out with an high hand. But the Egyptians pursued after them, all the horses and chariots of Pharaoh, and his horsemen, and his army, and overtook them, encamping by the sea, beside Pihahiroth, before Baal-zephon. When Pharaoh drew nigh, and the children of Israel lifted up their eyes, and behold, the Egyptians marched after them, and they were sore afraid. And the children of Israel cried out unto the Lord, and they said unto Moses, Because there were no graves in Egypt, hast thou taken us away to die in the wilderness? Wherefore hast thou dealt thus with us, to carry us forth out of Egypt? Is this not the word that we did tell thee in Egypt, saying, Let us alone, that we may serve the Egyptians? For it had been better for us to serve the Egyptians, than we should die in the wilderness. And Moses said unto the people, Fear ye not, stand still, and see the salvation of the Lord, which he will show you today. For the Egyptians, whom ye have seen today, ye shall see them again no more forever. And the Lord shall fight for you, and ye shall hold your peace. And the Lord said unto Moses, Wherefore criest thou unto me? Speak unto the children of Israel, that they may go forward. But lift thou up thy rod, and stretch out thine hand over the sea, and divide it, and the children of Israel shall go on dry land through the midst of the sea. And behold, I will harden the hearts of the Egyptians, and they shall follow them, and I will give me honor upon Pharaoh, and upon all his host, upon his chariots, and upon his horsemen. And the Egyptians shall know that I am the Lord, when I have gotten me honor upon Pharaoh, upon his chariots, and upon his horsemen. And the angel of God, which went before the camp of Israel, removed and went behind them, and the pillar of the cloud went from before their face, and stood behind them. And it came to pass between the camp of the Egyptians and the camp of Israel, and it was loud and darkness, and it was a cloud and darkness to them. But it gave light by night to these, so that the one came not near the other all the night. And Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and the Lord caused the sea to go back by a strong east wind all night, and made the sea dry land, and the water was divided. And the children of Israel went into the midst of the sea upon the dry ground, and the waters were a wall unto them on their right and on their left. And the Egyptians pursued and went in after them to the midst of the sea, even all Pharaoh's horses, his chariots, and his horsemen. And it came to pass that in the morning watch the Lord looked unto the host of the Egyptians through the pillar of fire and of the cloud, and troubled the host of the Egyptians, and took off their chariot wheels that drave them heavily. So that the Egyptians said, Let us flee for the face of Israel, for the Lord fighteth for them against the Egyptians. And the Lord said unto Moses, Stretch out thine hand over the sea, that the waters may come again upon the Egyptians, upon their chariots, and upon their horsemen. And Moses stretched forth his hand over the sea, and the sea returned to his strength when the morning appeared, and the Egyptians fled against it. And the Lord overthrew the Egyptians in the midst of the sea. And the waters returned and covered the chariots and the horsemen, and all the hosts of Pharaoh that came in the sea after them. There remained not so much as one of them. But the children of Israel walked upon dry land in the midst of the sea, and the waters were a wall unto them on the right hand and on the left. Thus saith the Lord Thus the Lord saved Israel that day out of the hand of the Egyptians, and Israel saw the Egyptians dead upon the seashore. And Israel saw that great work which the Lord did upon the Egyptians, and the people feared the Lord and believed the Lord and his servant Moses. That was a lot of reading, but thank you so much for bearing with me, because I think it's best that we read through the whole chapter just so we can kind of see what's going on. If you know the story, Moses had gone to Pharaoh several times saying, "Let my people go," because the Israelites were slaves of the Egyptians. And Pharaoh kept saying no, no. Finally, God sent, the plagues. And the last one, where the firstborn of every family died, then Pharaoh was like, okay, go ahead. Well, as the Israelites were fleeing Egypt, Pharaoh thought, that was a really dumb idea. I shouldn't have let them go. I want them back. So he takes his army, and they run after the Israelites, trying to get them back. The Israelites see this happening, see the Egyptians coming toward them, and they look at Moses and said, "Were there not enough graves in Egypt? So you bring us out here to die? We want to be back in Egypt," which, if you think about it, probably was not true, because they were a lot freer out in the desert than they were when they were slaves for the Egyptians. But they look at him and start complaining, and as the Bible tells us, they look at him and say, "It would have been better that we just serve the Egyptians, and you bring us out here in the wilderness, and we're going to die anyway." Moses tells them, well, just fear not, God's going to take care of us, basically. And God has Moses stretch out his rod over the Red Sea. It splits in half. One side went this way, one side went this way, and there was dry land across. And so the Israelites are able to cross. Well, the Egyptians see this, and they're like, oh, look, free passage. And they start heading that way. Well, God, who was leading the Israelites at that time, during the day it would be a pillar, a cloud. And by night he would lead them by a pillar of fire so they could see him. And then he led them through the wilderness that way. Well, he goes and he puts himself in between the Egyptians and the Israelites and stands in between them while the Israelites are crossing the sea. So then he takes off their chariot wheels. So they're getting stuck anyway because they're in the middle of the sea. And then once the Israelites are across, God said, okay, Moses, put your staff across the sea and close it up. And he closed it up, and it drowned the Egyptians. And they all died. And the Bible tells us not one was saved. A lot to go in the story, but there's so much that you can pull from this that we can apply to our daily life. So one of the biggest things that I think I pulled from here is that God will help us even in our tiniest trials. He's going to be standing there. He's going to be fighting for us. And, if you think about it, like, oh, I don't know if God could do this. If God could do something like this, saving the Israelites, thousands and thousands of people, splitting the sea in half, and having them walk across, not even mud, it was dry land, then he can do whatever you need him to do for you. And then don't be fearful about it, because God's going to fight for you. Just like he said in Exodus 14:14, Moses said, "The Lord shall fight for you, and ye shall hold your peace." So all you have to do is just let God take care of it, whether it be a financial situation or I think a lot of times we can apply this to relationships with other people. So say that person, they're wrong, okay? And maybe it's a family member or a friend or a coworker that you're just having to deal with, and they're not the easiest person to deal with. And instead of biting back at that person, even though they're wrong and you're right, and God knows that, okay? And he's going to take care of the situation. He's going to take care of that person, so you don't have to fight back with that person. It says the Lord will fight for you. Now, I don't know how he'd fight for you. Maybe he would get a hold of that person's heart, or maybe he would, change the circumstances, or however it might be. But God's going to take care of you, okay? You don't have to take care of that situation. You don't have to take care of that person. He's going to do it for you. All you have to do is just do what you know is right. And most of the time, that's not saying anything. Hold your peace. Be still. And then don't be doubtful that God can do something. Now, we look at the Israelites. through verses 10 through 12, and they're looking at Moses doubting that God can get them out of the wilderness and save them from the Egyptians, when he literally just took them out, and this was God's purpose. Romans 8:28 tells us that all things work together for good to them who are called according to his purpose. So you could best believe that whatever God has planned for you, it's going to work out. Either way, it's going to work out, because just like here, it was his plan all along to take the Israelites out of Egypt. But once they got out there, they hit a trial, and they thought, oh my goodness, we're all going to die. And you might think, well, God was standing right there with them. That was his plan all along. Why would he take them away from Egypt and just kill them? Well, how many times do we get caught up in doubt? We're in God's will as far as we know, and we hit a wall, or something happens that we didn't think would happen, or something doesn't work out the way we thought, and we're like, oh. But just like the Israelites, God is standing right there with us. He may not be in physical form, like form of a cloud that you can hear him talk through or anything, but we have his word, and he sees and he knows all. He knows what you're going through. He allowed that to happen. Nothing happens that God didn't allow to happen. And then he fights for good. The Bible tells us that God is good, right? Obviously. He's a good judge. He's a good creator. He's good at everything he does. Don't you think that however the situation is going to turn out, it's going to turn out for the good, just like Romans 8:28 tells us. And then God will stand between you and your enemy, or you and your problem, and he's going to take care of it. Just like he did in verse 19, and we'll read it again. And the angel of God, which went before the camp of Israel, removed and went behind them, and the pillar of the cloud went from their face and stood behind them. So he went from the front where he was leading. He went around the back of the Israelites and stood in between the Israelites and the Egyptians. The Bible tells us they put darkness on this side so they couldn't see, but light on the Israelite side. Just like he did that for Israelites, he'll do that for us. Now obviously we probably don't have an entire army coming after us, even though sometimes we're so fearful or so worried about a problem it seems that way. But he's going to stand in between us and our problem. We don't have to worry about that problem, that situation, that person, whatever it might be, because God's going to take care of us. In Matthew 6, the Bible tells us, and I'm paraphrasing, but he takes care of the birds. They don't have to plant a garden. They don't have to go in barns and gather and prepare for the winter, but yet God still takes care of them, right? So don't you think you're more important than the birds? Don't you think he cares just a little bit more? Now God obviously cares about all creation, but you're human. You're his child. He's going to care for you. He's going to take care of your needs physically and mentally. And so we don't have to worry. Again, going back to that verse, the Lord shall fight for you, and you shall hold your peace. So as we go out today and the rest of our week, just remember this chapter. Just remember that that person, that situation, that whatever, that problem, whatever it might be, just remember that God's going to fight for you. All you have to do is be still. He's going to come. He's going to stand, per se, between you and that problem, and he's going to take care of it. And we don't have to worry about it. So don't have any doubt. Just let God have the problem, the person, whatever it is. He's got it. That's all for today's video. Thank you so much for joining me and for taking the time to watch it. Don't forget to like and comment if you like this video. You don't have to, but it would help me out a lot. Also, don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you would like to see more videos from me in the future. And also hit the little bell by the subscribe button so you can get a notification anytime that I post a new video. Hope you have a great day, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye. Have to. Oh, it's snowing outside. Oh. Yeah, a pillar, a cloud. So think of, a pillar on a, I don't know, what thing is it? Is the Capitol building? Capitol building have pillars? I don't know. But anyway, think of a, now, what is this? Like, what am I even saying? All things work together for good to them, her, you need to do him. What? whatever you need him to do.